I want to do a quick shoe review of a running shoe I've been running in since the beginning of September, and that's the Altra Escalante. So I've gone about 140 miles in these shoes. I bought these around Labor Day during a Labor Day sale for about $65. And the reason these guys are mostly on sale right now is because the Altra Escalantes have been discontinued, and they've now made the Escalante 1.5, which is only a slight upgrade over the current Escalantes, or only slightly different than the current Escalantes. And the current Escalantes are still available in many retailers, and most of it is on sale. And with the holiday, sales coming up, I'm sure they will be on sale some more for like, in the $60 range. And if you're a runner on a budget, this is a really good price point in my opinion. So the first thing I want to know about Altra is, look at this logo. It's a road. And that goes to show how serious they are about running. These guys, after I get to know the shoe a bit, these guys rack their brains to think about how to make your running experience better, how to just make a better shoe for you to run in. And I really appreciate that, and I really like this shoe a lot, which is why I'm doing a review of it right now. So the main reason I bought this shoe is because it doesn't have a heel to toe drop, meaning the thickness of the foam in the front and in the heel are about the same. And what this does is, if you want to practice forefoot striking the ground with your forefoot, this type of a shoe does not inhibit you from forefoot striking. Now, typical shoes with thicker heels can actually inhibit you from forefoot striking. Your heel may just clip the ground first, and you just after it clips the ground, you just put a little weight on it, and next thing you know, you're not really running with your forefoot. Now, what exactly is forefoot running? Many people define it in many different ways. I would define it as the following. Forefoot running is running such that you strike the ground, and the whole time your foot is in contact with the ground, you keep as much weight as comfortably possible in the front half of your foot, in this part of your foot. And I personally try to land with the whole foot at the same time for a big landing area, but while I'm landing, I try to keep as much weight in the front half as possible. And forefoot running is just one aspect of many that come together to be proper running form. But I'll just talk about that. This shoe is, or shoes with low heel to toe drop is ideal for forefoot running. And shoes with bigger heels can potentially inhibit you from forefoot running. Now, you can still, try your best to run on with your weight on your forefoot with a big heel to toe drop, but it can just sometimes inhibit it. And a second feature which is fairly unique to Altra shoes is the shape of the shoe. In particular, it has a wide and oddly shaped, section for your toes to be very roomy, and for your toes to they call it splay out when you come in contact with the ground. This makes running very comfortable, and this wasn't the reason I bought it, but after I bought it, I found that this toe shape is awesome, and and other companies haven't. I don't think they've caught on yet, but it's a great shape. Next, I want to talk about the foam of this shoe. So this foam, there's just a small layer of foam. They call it a moderate or medium amount of cushion, and I personally like sort of less cushion. I do like some cushion. I don't like running. I don't like running with just a piece of rubber between my foot and some concrete. but I don't like too much padding. I don't need those shoes with like an inch of foam. So for me, this is a great amount of foam, and this particular foam, they named it Ego. So this particular foam is very bouncy. It's not soft. It's more. If you're walking, if you're landing slowly, it's a little softer. But if you're running, it's not soft, but it is bouncy. And I want to say it's very durable because it's been 140 miles, and this foam hasn't given up any noticeable bit. And I have a feeling this foam will stay bouncy for sure over 300 miles and possibly over 500 miles, possibly even beyond that. So after 140 miles, it's very apparent to me what part of the shoe will wear out first, and it's the rubber on the bottom. The rubber on the bottom, I believe, will wear out before this foam gets less bouncy and before anything happens to the upper part. For me, I run mainly on consistent roads, not trails. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on these uppers, and I run like in a moderate fashion. So I'm not always stretching or pushing against this upper. So this upper is, it's pretty much not going to wear out that fast. And as I said, this foam, I feel like it's going to stay bouncy for a long time. But the rubber underneath is actually showing some wear, and enough that I'm pretty sure the rubber on the bottom will wear out first out of all the major components of the shoe. And that sort of takes me to talking about the drawbacks. So I kind of nerd out a little bit. I analyze everything to maybe to excruciating detail, and there are some drawbacks to the shoe. So when they made this foot-shaped shoe, one thing they did was right around the middle, where your arc is, this shoe is very wide. This is wide, and also not only is this wide here, if you go inside the shoe, it's also wide inside, and there's no arc support. So most neutral running shoes do actually have some arc support. If you feel inside, right around where your arc is, it's a little narrower, and it has some. It's not just a flat. It's not flat. It has some shape to it to try to support your arc a little bit when you land. This has none of that, and plus it has a big toe area. So these two things combine to make it such that when you run in Escalantes, after you've run a long time in traditional running shoes, you might overpronate. And I did slightly, and I also found another YouTube video where the guy, basically is criticizing the shoe, saying, "Oh, I overpronate, and it made me feel, like weird, and so I dropped the shoe." So, what did I do when I overpronated? When I found that I overpronated a little bit in these shoes? No, I definitely didn't drop the shoe. I just went slower, and I just kept on telling myself while I'm running, don't pronate, don't overpronate, don't overpronate, run with proper form. And after I gotten used to it, I think I'm better for it. I probably will, even if I go into some other weird shoe, my form, now I have more foundation for my form, such that I probably will be less prone to overpronation. But this is one of the potential drawbacks. So for instance, if someone is more, care more about their training, their performance, and they're just smacking their feet up against the ground somewhat carelessly a lot, suddenly switching to this shoe after running in traditional running shoes for a long time will most likely, if it causes overpronation for them, it could cause devastating injuries to the MCL or ankle or whatever else. It could be devastating. So so do note this fact. And another very small critique is because of this toe-shaped box, they put this reinforced little patch, a little off center or very off center. So while they do that, most people, including myself, I don't know if you can see the wear here. I still toe off, around the middle, around here. But when I toe off, I'm getting scratches on this foam, and if this patch were just a little bit more centered, it doesn't have to be exactly at the center, or if it were extended a little bit, it will cover. This patch is some very durable rubber. This black rubber, darker rubber. If this patch was just extended a little bit, it will help a lot with durability of this entire section, of this entire region. And also, if you examine where the wear and tear is on the shoe, on the bottom of the shoe, it's right here at the toe off. It's right around here, where the core, the section that stick out in your midfoot sort of strikes and leaves the ground, right around here, and then there's a little bit of wear on this heel. So the rest of the heel is still very good, but there's a little bit of wear on this heel. And on the other foot, it's a similar story. There's a little bit of wear right on the toe. There's some wear right here. Right here. You can see, I don't know how well this will show up, but and then the heel is like, my left heel is like almost no wear at all. So a lot of the wear is at the toes and right here where the sort of the ball of your foot is, or the section from the ball of the foot that's closest to you, the part that sort of lands and pushes off. So they decided to put these grooves here, and this sort of reduces the weight of the shoe, and they just left a little bit of rubber here. I really disagree with this gigantic groove right at where a 4-foot runner would right at this pressure point where a 4-foot runner will put a lot of pressure on the rubber. If more of this area was reinforced with rubber, this rubber will wear out less. Compare how much wear is happening to this part of the rubber, and compare it to the heel, which is almost no wear. Like if they reinforce this section, instead of putting a gigantic groove here, if they reinforce this section with more rubber, this shoe could potentially be a really high mileage shoe as well as being a very good shoe. So those are my major points of criticism, and I want to say this shoe is a fairly specialty shoe. It's not for every type of running, and I personally believe that it's best for doing long, easy runs and modest, moderate tempo runs, or whatever you would call it, where the intensity is just not super high, and it's actually not a performance shoe. It's not a shoe if you care about every second of your race time. This is actually not the shoe that's going to squeeze out all the possible performance from your muscles. So I would say it's good for easy runs, light tempos, but not for like really hard runs or like speed runs, like interval running. It's not for that. Also, I wouldn't use this as a walking shoe. If walking is the only thing you're doing in this shoe, I wouldn't purchase this shoe. This is more of a running shoe. If all you're going to do is walk, then you definitely want more heel support, because you're putting a lot weight over and over again on your heel when you're walking. Whereas when you're running, that's actually not typically the case. The less weight and pressure you put on your heel, the actually better it is for your other joints like your knees. And also, you know, this because of this the shape of this toe box, how roomy it is. Because of how roomy this is, your foot can really move around in it, and especially when you're taking sharp turns. So when I'm running in these shoes, whenever I see a turn, I'm always trying to turn very gradually. So because if you take sharp turns, your foot will slide around in this area, and it's just one of the drawbacks of having a roomy area right around your toes. And because of that reason, I actually would not wear these shoes to do activities like basketball, tennis. I wouldn't even wear it to the gym, just because, you know, you don't want to be having to exert a lot of pressure of using your foot against either the ground or against a machine, and all of a sudden have your feet, you know, slip. So, you know, that's the basic gist of my review of the Altra Escalante. Overall, I really like this shoe. I really like what the company is trying to do, which is really think about what a runner's needs are. And I like it so much so that I bought another pair, and so when this pair wears out, hopefully well beyond 300 miles, you know, I have a fresh pair, a gray one instead of black, you know, in rating.